I've got the saddle on Kyber, and I'm just checking out how our in-hand work will go today. I'm not introducing anything she doesn't know. I'm just checking out how she feels with stuff that we've been working on already while wearing a saddle. So a couple weeks ago, I started to saddle her, and I noticed quite a bit of worry and tension come up. She's been ridden before, and I'm sure that started to take her mind down the path of anxiety about what was going to happen and how things were going for her. And so I decided to take a step back. I stopped saddling her for a while, and I just worked on some of the more basic stuff that we'd been doing when she first came, just getting her feeling good about catching again, because for a little bit after saddling her, she wasn't really sure she wanted to be caught. And working on some relaxation things, some pull work, just stuff to kind of get her mind feeling good again. And when I went to saddle her today, there was a big difference in how she felt. So I've just got her saddled up and in the arena, and I'm just gonna work on some basic in-hand stuff. So, and if I've made a YouTube video on this exact in-hand work with her before, so if you've seen that one, then you'll know what we're doing. But I try not to introduce a new stimulus and teach a new skill at the same time, because I think it's a little overwhelming for a horse. So again, I've introduced a new stimulus, which is the saddle, even though she knows how to, let me rephrase that. She's worn a saddle before. That doesn't mean she was ever comfortable with it. So I'm just getting her to do stuff that she already knows that I know can make her feel relaxed while wearing the saddle. So I want her to piece together that any work toward riding or riding is all just a continuation of what we've already done. Everything should be done in relaxation. Everything should be done in balance. So we're just doing the basic in-hand work. I want her to feel the drive aid, have the base of her neck come out of her chest when she feels it, so her neck grows longer, and that she comes forward in balance, moving in diagonal pairs. And you can see that she is starting to square up from this work. She knows this work, she's familiar with this work, and it makes her feel good. So the in-hand work is important, even for a Mustang who is destined to be a pleasure horse, a trail horse. She's not going to be a dressage horse. But the in-hand work is important because it teaches her to not run away from the drive aid, to not get tense because of it, but to move her shoulders fluidly, to move them in relaxation, to understand how to use the four corners of her body to connect diagonally through the legs. So here when she brings the right front, the left hind should be next. And it didn't happen to come, which is no big deal. There it goes. And when she brings the left front, the right hind should be next. So that is how this in-hand works. It just helps the horse connect the corners of the body without tightening up their neck, without tightening up their back, because those top line muscles from the top of her neck, under her saddle, over the longissimus dorsi, over her back, connecting to the glutes, they all work as a chain, and it's not possible to have a tight back or a tight neck and use the top line effectively. So even a trail horse or a pleasure horse needs to understand how to work in relaxation so that their body can work effectively. So you can see that she's familiar with this work, and she's kind of going back into that mental state where she feels confident, she feels comfortable. She's licking and chewing. She's got a nice long neck. And when I talk about the base of the neck coming out, I'm not specifically just looking for her to put her head down. I'm looking for her, when she feels the drive aid, to actually lift the base of her neck, which is that part, if you look at where her breast collar is. When I tap her with the whip, I want to see that her neck comes away from that breast collar almost. So it looks like it's coming out like that. And I'm starting on the left side because that's where she's the most comfortable. And now I'm getting ready to go back to a little shoulder in positioning, which again, she's familiar with. So it starts with the basic in hand work that the four corners of her body are working well. And what's really important for teaching shoulder in hand is that the horse does not pivot around the inside shoulder and the outside hind does not swing to the outside, like what just happened there. It's very common for a horse to do that, but shoulder in is teaching the horse to stabilize their hind legs, and if they are swinging to the outside and they're pivoting around their inside shoulder, shoulder in done correctly will not be possible. So there, just am making sure that her feet are coming forward nice and carefully. I want her to place her front feet down thoughtfully. I want her to not rush. I want her to feel very confident that she's with me every step. So when she feels the drive aid, she's not running away from it, she's going with it. And that's very important for ridden work because you don't want her to run away from your leg. You want her to go underneath you step for step. So here I have a little positioning of shoulder in. The left front comes forward. The right hind stabilizes. And I know I'm standing in front of her head, but she actually did a beautiful job there. She stayed rhythmic. Instead of pivoting over her left front, she is swinging it forward with good control. And why would a pleasure horse trail riding Mustang need to know shoulder in? Because it gives her confidence, it gives her shoulder freedom, it teaches her how to use her body well, and it's just a really pleasant way to dance with your horse and teach them how to be with your hand and with your drive aid instead of constantly running away from both. I think a lot of horses kind of end up having body parts chased around. They run away from your leg and then they respond to your rein by running away from it, and you kind of have to trap them in between all your aids all the time. And even a trail horse deserves to feel balanced. They deserve to feel happy. They deserve to feel like they enjoy their riding. And what I think is really cool about this work is that even when she does stop with her weight over her left shoulder, she prefers to be balanced, and so she'll actually fix it. So she's working beautifully in diagonal pairs. And just a fun side note that I think is interesting is this positioning for me used to really scare her. If I were in front of her or and I have my fingers in the front of the halter's nose band because that helps it work sort of like a cavesson so that the energy goes through and out her nose instead of easily blocking it under her chin. Sometimes I put my hand there and notice how she stopped square. She's starting to really enjoy that balance. What's interesting is that it wasn't long ago that if I were in that position, she would absolutely panic. And when she panics, she tends to crowd and push and kind of get away from me through me instead of going any of the other openings that are available to her. And that tells me without a shadow of a doubt that in her past training, she's been very confined, very restricted. And so she felt like she had to come over the person to get away, which is just so interesting that horses can carry that baggage, even though, I'm not intentionally looking to trap her or stop her from being able to move away from me. My dog is very, very excited to see me down here. Kyber, not so much. But even long after that is gone, the horse carries that baggage, and so they will go over the top of you, even though they have plenty of other room to go. So that's why it's so important with Kyber to handle her in a way that doesn't make her feel defensive or worried, because if she feels like she has to take care of herself, she absolutely will. And I don't want her to feel like she'll have to fight me at all. I just have really enjoyed watching her balance change, watching her expression change, and working with her. So I'm starting on the right side, and You can see a little tension pop up already. She's not as comfortable with having me on the right side. And interestingly, I've worked on the right side plenty and had pretty good success there. But now that we have added the saddle, it's a different story. And that's really important to take note on, that a horse can have some pretty good experiences, but when you add a new stimulus, their old concerns can come back. So, we're wearing a saddle and suddenly the right side is hard for her, and they're going to revert back to some of the habits they have. So here she's kind of running away from the drive aid. And when I say that, I mean that I touch her with the whip and she moves away and pivots around her right shoulder, instead of what you saw on the left side where she was quietly stepping forward. And then she thinks about she might have to get away. Anything that's suspicious to her, she's not going to wait around and find out what it is. She's going to protect herself. So again, that's why moving with her and working with her in a way that makes her feel confident is so important. So all of this movement that you see her doing right now is not desirable. So I'm switching over to the left side and I'm just going to experiment with this position and see if that makes her a little more comfortable. So I'm asking her to move the right front leg while I'm on the left side. And that immediately made her feel more comfortable. I think it's important to be willing always to adjust, especially with horses who've had some trouble. If I stayed on the right side and made a huge issue about it, she'd be very likely to know without a shadow of a doubt that she needed to fight me, because her past experiences have taught her to fight people to take care of herself, and that's not at all what I want her to think. And so just by making this small, super small change of just going back over to the left while working on the right side immediately brought her more confidence. So there, she got a little worried. I'm just going to hop back over to the left side. See her expression change immediately when I get back over there, because that's where she's comfortable. Her neck is coming back out of her chest again. And giving up her right shoulder is kind of scary for her, because if she needs to get away, she needs to have a lot of weight on her right shoulder. All movements that a horse would use to defend themselves require tight shoulders, and so by asking her to be fluid and lifted with them, it's really taking away her ability to protect herself. So anytime we run into a little bit of trouble, it's just best to give her space to walk out of it, to not press the issue, just let her breathe, let her realize that it's not what she thinks it is. It's no big deal. But if I get, kind of thinking like I would have in the past, where I can't release for that movement, I can't release for, you didn't give me what I asked. So right now her shoulder is deeply weighted, but I don't feel that making an issue of it will really help either one of us at this point. So I'm just giving her a little rub with the whip, because I don't want her to think that this is anything scary. There, her neck came out of her chest when she felt it. And there we have more fluid movement. Staying on the left side for now. She's starting to get a little more comfortable. And her expression is getting a little nicer. And it's really important, too, to think, in the past I've had absolutely great success doing this. And today, things are not going quite so hot. She's getting a little upset. She's getting a little worried. I can't think, gee, what's happening today? You used to have no problem with this and suddenly you're falling apart. Every single experience, every single day is different. It really doesn't matter what she could do in the past, because today she's having a hard time. And on the left side, we did beautiful work, and suddenly I hop over to the right and she's, not okay. It doesn't mean that we have failed at anything. It doesn't mean that anything is going wrong. All it means is just that I need to work on this particular moment as a separate, unique moment from others. And Kyber's not really a big fan of my dog. Moses does not realize that Kyber doesn't love him. he can't imagine why someone wouldn't love him. And you see her balance is getting better. She's getting a nice chance to take a little break, and then we will return to it. Let's see if she feels any differently. See how the movement's much more united now, whereas in the beginning, she was kind of spinning sideways around her right shoulder. And really, a lot of that is just out of concern for her safety. You know, if she's not sure she's going to be okay, she's not going to give beautiful shoulder freedom because she might need to get away. There's a big change. Big change. Just taking a little step back just really doesn't hurt us at all.